When we turn, after completing that row, and get it straightened out, we have the yarn in front. So we slip the stitch, take the yarn to the back, and now we are going to work back across this row with the silver stitch, the gray stitch being the one we knit, and the red stitch being the one we purl, because we are now working opposite what we did the last row. So I'm going to set myself up. It doesn't matter exactly which color goes in which hand, if you do it one in the other hand, unless your tension is seriously off. So that may cause a little bit of issue, but between your knits and your purls, but you could always alternate each row which hand is going to be knitting. I typically keep the colors in the same hands every time, but whatever works for you. Now we're going to knit with the silver this time, and with that gray, and take it to the front, both yarns. Purl with the red, take both yarns to the back. Just work yourself across, working the stitches as presented. It's kind of how this pattern works for every other row. Now, there is a lot going on with double knitting, but you just take it slow. Make sure to move the yarns to the front and to the back. What happens if you don't move the yarns? Well, here you go. If I knit this stitch and I leave the gray to the back and I bring just the red forward, and then I knit that, or purl that, excuse me, take that yarn back. When I go to knit this gray stitch, let me show you on this side, you end up with that bar going across your work. Not what we're going for, because we want the floats that are in here, going from that stitch to be inside between the two layers of fabric. This is easy to fix. I'll show you when we come back the other way. So let's keep going. We're going to purl this one, take the yarn to the back. Actually, I'll leave the gray yarn forward because, oh, I forgot to take it to the back, and then I'll knit it, because those are the two mistakes you can make with not moving your yarn, and I'll show you how we fix both of those. Bring the yarns forward, purl that stitch, take the yarns to the back, and now we're going to knit these two stitches together and turn. Yarns in the front, slip the stitch as if to purl, take the yarn to the back. Now we're going to be working knit stitches in red, purl stitches in silver. Right away we can see that something is going on here because it should be alternating colors in this row. So let's knit the red stitch, purl the gray stitch, and then we look and we say, wait, that looks like a yarn over. And it is. It's because we took the yarn over the top instead of moving it between the needles. To fix this kind of thing, we just take it off. There'll be a little bit of a tension thing that needs adjusted later, but I don't worry about that till the end when I'm blocking. So now we're going to knit, and we're going to purl, and then we say, wait, why is there a bar going across that? It's very easy to do. We can just lift it over. I'll show you again. Just lift it over, slide the red stitch off, and drop that out of the way, put the red stitch back on. Because now it's sitting there, get it in the light, where it's supposed to be instead of on the wrong side of that red stitch. I'll show you again. So if you come across a bar, when it's on your work, sitting there, you know that's not right, just lift it over out of the way, slide that red stitch, make sure that gray bar gets dropped off, put the red stitch back on. And then we can keep working. Knit, bring the yarns forward, and purl. I'll switch hands and do it for a little bit. Knit with red, move the yarns, purl with gray. So double knitting is essentially a bit of a fancy ribbing. What makes double knitting really fun is when we start to play with the order in which the stitches are colored. So right now we are creating two separate pieces of fabric. The red's all lining up on one side, and the pearls are all lining up on, or the gray pearls are all lining up on the other side for this one. So we're keeping the two fabrics separate, which if we continued to do this, they would just be just the two pieces of fabric that would be separate except for the bottom and the edges. All right, last stitch there. Now let's do our edge stitch. Take the yarns to the back. Knit the stitch. Oops. Knit the stitch. There we go. All right. So now we can see that those are all lining up. And we can take a look at the edge stitch now, because you can see we're creating slip stitches. And that's going to make this nice edge that goes up the side. On both sides, we're slipping the stitches. And by doing these edge stitches together as a pair, you're locking the edges in. There's different ways to do your double knitting edge stitches. This is just one way, and I picked it because it matches that double knitting, the double-stranded knitted cast-on at the beginning. This kind of marbled edge happens with our edge stitches. Let me grab my project and show you. So we have that marbled cast on that I did on my project, and you kind of have a marbled edge as it goes up the side. I guess I can hold it right side up for you.